My name's Greg Rundlett, and we're here to talk about monitoring your wiki in 3 easy steps. As soon as you put a site on the internet, I think it was Ike mentioned earlier, you've been hacked and attacked and bots coming at you from every which way. And if you've got a site on the internet, somebody out there is trying to take it down. Maybe not even intentionally. Maybe it's just a poorly behaved bot that floods your site with indexing requests, and it's like your most popular day on the internet. You thought your site was popular, but it was just some poorly performing web bot. But you and your customers are going to be concerned with site reliability and keeping that website up, keeping that website persistently available to your constituents, your customers, your organization or your community that's being served by the wiki. So how do we do that? We do that with monitoring and alerting. And I'm going to show you how to solve this problem with NetData. NetData is it's a free open source GPL license. I think it's GPL license. I know it's free and it's open source. Monitoring and alerting solution, probably the best out there. I'd love to know if there are other solutions that are that compare with NetData, but you can pay a lot of money, and there are other monitoring solutions. Things that come to mind are Splunk is a popular enterprise monitoring solution, but I'm not aware of anything that really matches NetData's profile, performance, price, and so we'll go with that. And I'm going to talk specifically about first how to install it, next how to set up notifications, and lastly how to silence or edit rules so that you're only getting notifications about things that you care about. So to download and install, the simple bash command that you see on the screen is all you need to do. If you go to the website, you'll find that they have a multitude of install options. They've got packages for every operating system. They've got how to build it from source. They have literally, I'd say, one of the most comprehensive install menus that I've seen for a project. They're really big on making sure that their software can get into your hands. All that said, what I prefer to do is to make sure that NetData is installed, instead of having it installed throughout the system, have it installed in the directory opt/NetData. And if you use that bash command, curl the my-netdata.io/kickstart/-static64, assuming you have a 64-bit environment in your server room, that's gonna do everything. Download NetData, install it into opt-NetData, and check your system for compatibility. So it really is that simple. Or you can get Meza. If you want NetData, you can just get Meza, because NetData comes with Meza. NetData is built into Meza, built into the 32X branch, or I believe it even got merged into the master branch. So Meza is that system, the MediaWiki system that was born and grew up at NASA, and it's not supported, but it's an excellent system. And if you want support, you can get QualityBox. QualityBox is Meza with support. You can find that at qualitybox.us. That's where I come in. There's going to be some code here. I apologize in advance. This is not a sexy talk, and it's not full of pretty pictures, and it might be boring to some, but but you gotta have application monitoring and alerting when you're live on the internet. So I am going to get into just a few pieces of code, and I promise we'll have some pretty pictures to intersperse here as well. This one thing I found out is that NetData already has a really good profile for resource consumption, but there's a setting that I found in some environments where you have this thing called kernel same page merging, or KSM. And if you have KSM available, but it's not enabled, enabling it is very simple, and it can save you 40 to 60% of NetData memory consumption. So to do that, you just echo 1 bit to the syskernel KSM/run. That'll turn it on, and then the sleep milliseconds, you set that to 1,000, and that will save you 40 to 60% of NetData memory. Simple kernel modification, and I apologize, like I said, for the code, but every once in a while we'll have pretty pictures. I struggled to find something interesting to throw in here, so we've got little cats playing on the floor. So let's talk next about notifications. The whole point of having NetData is that it's going to send you notifications to your inbox so that you can act on them appropriately. To get these notifications, one thing I like about NetData is it even checks the system's mail system so that you really don't have to do anything except install NetData, and you'll start receiving these notifications. However, by default, notifications will be sent to root. So you either need to edit NetData's configuration, or on a Linux host, set the new aliases command. So that's, if you see that down here in the lower half of the screen, you just edit the file etc/aliases. You give it the email address for your root account, greg@example.com, and then you enter the command new aliases that tells the system to read that configuration file over again into memory. And now you've got mail that's being directed to the local root account on that host is going to be sent off to your actual email address. So that's how to unclog the mail queue, so to speak, and set up your mail target. So what happens when we get these? I should have made a screenshot or shared an example alarm notification. I just realized I didn't do that. But when you get an alarm notification, let me see if I can pull one up. Yeah, alerts. So it's super slow. There we go. Can everyone see that alert? Yay. So what this does, the alert is going to tell you down at the bottom that the source of the alarm comes from NetData's conf directory, and then health directory, health.d, memcache.conf. And all you need to know is that little last bit, because what we can do is now go to the opt NetData directory, change into the configuration directory, which is etc/NetData, and there's a tool right there called edit config. And so we just use edit config, health.d, and the name of that configuration file that you want to touch. And like I said, that comes from that portion, that lower portion of every alarm notice that you get. It tells you where that comes from. So if it's disk related, it might be disk.conf. If it's memcache related, it could be memcache.conf. There's an incredible amount. We'll see later. We'll see in just a bit how many metrics NetData covers, and that's the kind of like draw the curtain back and the jaw drop moment when you see just how much coverage NetData gives you on your infrastructure. One thing, the system's already been pre-configured, pre-tuned to do the best job that it can do, but what you might find is that it can be kind of noisy. The system can kind of emit alerts when you don't want to hear them, or it's just too noisy because you have a relatively weak system that's getting bombarded by the internet. And so you want to really either raise the threshold on the alarms, or even just outright silence certain alarms. And the way that you do that, the way to silence an alarm is just put the keyword silent next to the parameter for 2 in the configuration. So that will silence an alarm. You will still see the alarm when you go to the website. And if you want to disable the alarm completely, just set enabled to no. There's more detail in the NetData docs on how to do all that. And so those notes will be distributed. So if you come and take a look at this talk later, there'll be links to docs and the sources. And next, after we talk about notifications, we'll see some more pretty pictures. No, but seriously, I mean some pretty pictures. Let's take a look at this demo. My Quality Box demo site shows a live instance of NetData. And so this is kind of what we see when we look at NetData. Let's make that bigger. So immediately you have this dashboard, and this is really cool and impressive because you get to see at a glance what the load is on your CPU, how much RAM is being used, what kind of flows you have on your network in and out, what kind of activity you have on their disk, and if you're using any swap memory at all. This, by the way, this is my demo box, so it's really pretty lightweight. I think it's maybe a 4 gig RAM box, and so you might see this sometimes gets pegged, like right there, CPU 100%. It's running a bunch of intensive background processes like CLAM antivirus and semantic MediaWiki and the visual editor and Parsoid. So it's pretty well loaded. But the neat thing about NetData is that it's got monitoring for every aspect that you can see here on the right-hand side: CPU, load, disk, RAM, swap, network, processes, and then in greater detail on those subsystems like CPU, memory, disk, the networking stack. You can even add monitors for the subsystems like Apache. So here's Apache, and here's Apache's dashboard. You can instantly see if there's requests. If somebody would hit demo.qualitybox.us right now, you would see that request on this dashboard. It's live, real-time monitoring down to the second. You can add in, oh, somebody did it, thank you. You can add in monitors for memcache, like I said, or MySQL. The one thing that's not in here by default that I typically add is Elasticsearch. So it's real simple to just add an Elasticsearch monitor. When you see the MySQL monitor, you can see that it tracks not just MySQL in general, but the bandwidth, the queries, the query types, the handlers, locks, and issues. This I refer to a lot of times if I get an alert, because this query type shows even slow queries. So if slow queries aren't always the cause of your problems, but slow queries can be, and so that's one of the places I like to check. And you know, in the past, if I wanted to get an idea for slow queries, I either have to jump on the server and try to tail the log and remember where that log file is, or I need to fire up, you know, MySQL Workbench, connect to the server, check server health or status, and try to see if I can get information on slow queries. With NetData, it's just a click and I'm there. So I really love how handy and how visible this this tool makes all these metrics. Really surfaces the data in a way that you can make use of it. So one of the cool things, this is live monitoring, so it's not meant to, this is not your entire monitoring stack. For long-term monitoring, you want to probably have other types of logs set up, and because this collects metrics on, you know, like 2,000 different metrics every second, the amount of time that it goes back, which is configurable, but it only goes back about 24 hours. What's kind of cool is that you can just zoom on this timeline and just go back. I'm just using the shift key to just zoom on this timeline. And so I can see, you know, like really what's happened over the last couple of hours. And if I see something interesting, I can actually then zoom in on that point. And what it does is it keeps all of the metrics lined up, so you can actually see what happened at exactly 13:18. And you can see what the load was like. You can see what the disk activity was like, what the network activity was like, everything. Zoom to that point. So that's one of the neat features that I love. If you want to set it back to normal, just hit the play button again over here, and it resets the chart for you. But so you can scroll backwards, forward in time. You can zoom in and out on the resolution of the data, which is just something I haven't seen in other tools. Maybe there are, you know, like enterprise monitoring tools that have the same sort of advanced UI and user experience, but I think for a free tool, they've nailed it. So one other thing that I think is really cool is that once you're logged in, they have this new feature that's called console view. So let's see. Console view. This is a beta feature, but I see them building it out, and what I see so far is pretty cool. All you have to do is log in to one of your instances, and it will show you this dashboard of all your other instances. So you can see, you know, like, oh, my demo system, oh, sorry, little early there. My demo system's got an alert, or, you know, my production system's all green. And you can see this at a glance because you can see multiple hosts in the console view. And let's see. So we still have a couple, 10 minutes remaining. So I wanted to, because we're all stuck at home and working remotely, I wanted to throw in another picture. We're all gonna survive this together, cats and dogs. Not a problem. And as far as your monitoring and alerting, you know, that's where I come in. If you want to learn more, have questions, you can definitely follow up with me during the conference or afterwards. It's Quality Box, like I said, is the MediaWiki distribution that we make based on Meza, where we add features like NetData and add the support. So with that, I just want to open it up to questions.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Greg. Do we have questions? Ryan.
I feel like I got to warm up the questions, but I jumped over to your site and I went to port 20,000, and I can look at it on the NetData on your site. Is there any reason you wouldn't want to expose that to the public?
I don't think so. I think it's a pretty lightweight application, so it's not like if I get a bunch of hits on my monitoring service that I'm going to have undue, performance implications. But by the same token, it's so easy to hide that. So if you wanted to, for any reason, just like put that behind a simple password. That's so easy to do.
Really cool. Thank you.
All right. Do we have any other? Mark. Mark has a question.
What tools do you use for long-term monitoring trends over more than 24 hours?
I've been using mostly Google Analytics. In the past, I always set up my own analytics platform because I feel like, having your own server logs and having direct access to that data puts you in the best position of control. I've gotten lazy over the last few years, and I've been outsourcing it to Google, but I'm thinking of going back now and using Matomo or something where I have not just my full raw logs, but a great reporting tool that looks into those logs. Because, like, for example, one of the things that disappoints me about Google is that there's a significant portion of traffic that comes from bots, and Google doesn't even report on it. I know for a fact that SEMrush bot and Bing bot and Yahoo bot and Yandex bot and Google bot, they account for non-negligible portion of my traffic, my site traffic. So I want to know what those bots are, when they come. I want to know good detail on that. You can get that through tools like Matomo. And so that's what I would recommend for long-term metrics is either Google Analytics or your own platform like Matomo.
So Google Analytics doesn't do anything with the server monitoring like load and memory usage and all that.
Correct.
So you're just talking for the long-term monitoring that you were talking about is just website. But you don't.
Correct. Yeah. So I don't have anything set up for long-term monitoring right now on site performance metrics. But I'd love to hear some ideas if people, I know the foundation has like an army of tools that they use to to slice and dice the both performance and data center reliability. So if anyone's got suggestions or comments, they're welcome.
They also have an army of sysadmins. So